Own your mind or be owned by the world. They never taught you this in school. Not really. They taught you how to remember, not how to think. They taught you how to follow, not how to lead. They showed you how to fit in, how to obey, how to color inside the lines, but they never showed you how to break them. They never handed you the blueprint to your own mind. Because if they had, you would be dangerous. Understand this now. You were born into a world that profits off your compliance, your distraction, your self-doubt. And the longer you drift without awareness, the more your mind becomes a tool for someone else's gain. Own your mind, or be owned by the world. This is not poetry. This is not philosophy for the sake of sounding deep. This is survival in the jungle of modern life. In a world where algorithms know your next move before you do. Where your attention is sold to the highest bidder. Where your desires are manufactured, your insecurities monetized, and your dreams slowly replaced by fears you didn't even choose. And yet in this chaos, there is still power. But only if you take it. You must understand, your mind is not a mirror. It is not here to reflect what the world tells you is real. It is a weapon. A lens. A furnace. You must forge it like steel, or it will rust into passivity. The giants of history knew this. They owned their minds so completely that they bent reality to their will. Edison didn't invent the light bulb because he was smarter. He did it because his mind wouldn't accept darkness. He failed over 1,000 times and called it progress. Lincoln wasn't born to lead. He was born into failure. Loss, heartbreak, rejection, but he owned his thoughts. He turned his wounds into wisdom. Ford didn't ask the world for permission to dream. He asked his engineers for a V8 engine when everyone said it couldn't be done. He held the vision in his mind until it became fact. You see, the difference between those who live life on their knees and those who rise like titans is not talent. It is ownership. Control of thought. Mastery of attention. Discipline of belief. You must become the architect of your own consciousness. Because if you don't choose your thoughts, someone else will. If you don't define your values, the world will sell you theirs. And if you don't program your mind, it will be programmed for you by marketers, by media, by fear. There is a war going on. Not a war of guns, but of ideas. Not a war of nations, but of narratives. Every screen you touch is a battlefield. Every scroll, every like, every video a seed planted in the garden of your beliefs. So what are you growing? Are you planting thoughts of purpose, clarity, conviction? Or are you growing weeds of doubt, distraction, comparison? This is where it begins. Mindset is not a word to put on a t-shirt. It is a weapon to be sharpened daily. You must guard it like a treasure. Shape it like clay. Train it like a soldier. Because the world will not wait. The world will not protect you. The world will keep spinning, faster and louder, until you either fall in line or rise above it. To rise, you must believe. Not in fantasy, but in the truth of your own potential. Belief is the root of power. But belief is not passive. It is not wishing on a star. It is not hoping something will happen someday. Belief is a decision. It is a declaration. It is the quiet voice at 5 a.m. that says, "Get up, we're not done yet." It is the voice that keeps speaking when the world tells you to be quiet. It is the thought that refuses to die. When Carnegie built empires, he started with nothing but belief. When Disney was told he lacked imagination, he believed harder. When every door closed on Oprah, she broke through with belief. It is not the world that opens to you. It is your mind that opens the world. And for that, you need clarity. Most people live like fog. They drift. They react. They survive. But clarity is the compass. The North Star. The sword that cuts through noise. Clarity does not come from thinking more. It comes from thinking deeply. It is asking, who am I, really? What do I stand for? What will I no longer tolerate? Clarity makes decisions easy. It makes distractions irrelevant. It gives your mind direction, a target. Because a mind without a target will hit anything and call it fate. With clarity comes vision. And with vision, you become dangerous. Not because you have all the answers, but because you finally know the questions worth asking. You begin to live with intention. You stop waking up in reaction to the world's agenda and start creating your own. And in that moment the world starts to bend. Not because it changed, but because you did. That's the moment purpose is born. And purpose is not something you find. It is something you forge. It is the byproduct of clarity and conviction. Of knowing who you are, where you are going, and why it matters. When you live with purpose, distractions die. Opinions lose their power. Comfort becomes your enemy. And excuses sound like betrayal. Because now, you have a mission. And a mind with a mission cannot be manipulated. But purpose without discipline is just potential. Discipline is the bridge between desire and destiny. It is what separates the visionary from the daydreamer. Discipline is doing what must be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It is the daily act of aligning your actions with your intention. It is how dreams are translated into results. And discipline, like muscle, is built in resistance. Every time you choose progress over comfort, you add steel to your spine. And the more steel you carry, the less the world can break you. But discipline alone is not enough. Because action is the proof. Thomas Edison, he had nothing but a relentless, unshakable belief that darkness could be conquered. He failed over 1,000 times, but never allowed the world to define his limits. He owned his mind so completely that even failure became a servant to his will. He didn't listen to the whispers of doubt or the loud voices of dismissal. Instead, he forged ahead, fueled by the clarity of his vision and the steel of his discipline. This is the first truth you must embrace: your mind is your battlefield, your fortress, your kingdom. If you surrender it to fear, confusion, or distraction, you become a prisoner of circumstance. But if you claim it, protect it, command it, then no force on earth can conquer you. Look at Andrew Carnegie, the titan of industry, who rose from the depths of poverty to build an empire of steel. Carnegie didn't wait for permission or luck. He harnessed the power of focused thought, of definite purpose. He didn't just dream about success, he visualized it so vividly that it burned like a fire in his soul. And with every setback, every criticism, he sharpened his resolve rather than softened it. Carnegie owned his mind, and in owning it, he owned his destiny. Owning your mind begins with belief, not the superficial kind that fades with the first sign of trouble, but the deep-rooted belief that you are the architect of your reality. This belief transforms your thoughts from random sparks into a blazing inferno of purposeful action. But belief alone is not enough. Belief must be married to clarity, clarity of purpose, clarity of vision. You cannot steer a ship that doesn't know its destination. You cannot conquer your mind if you don't know what it is you are fighting for. Imagine Abraham Lincoln, a man battered by failure and rejection, yet unyielding in his purpose. He carried within him a clear vision, not just for himself, but for a nation. His clarity of vision gave him the resilience to endure years of defeat, to rise when others would have crumbled. He understood that owning his mind meant owning his story, no matter how dark it became. Clarity fuels discipline. Discipline is the bridge between your vision and your reality. It is the daily, grinding commitment to actions that align with your purpose, even when the world is screaming distractions and doubts at you. Discipline is what separates those who dream from those who do. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right." The mind is a machine that moves exactly as you command it. If you discipline your mind to focus on the possible, the achievable, the worthy, it will move mountains. But if you allow doubt, fear, and confusion to take the reins, you will be dragged down into the abyss of mediocrity. Owning your mind also means mastering your emotions. The world will test you relentlessly through criticism, setbacks, betrayal, and failure. Those who fail to own their minds give their power away with every emotional reaction. They become puppets of their feelings, tossed by the winds of circumstance. But when you cultivate emotional mastery, you transform from victim to victor. You develop the ability to pause, to breathe, to choose your response instead of reacting on impulse. You become like a still lake, reflecting storms without being disturbed. This is true strength, silent, steady, unbreakable. The great Walt Disney faced countless rejections and bankruptcies before his vision became reality. He owned his mind so fiercely that no setback could divert him from his purpose. His emotional resilience was the shield that protected his dream. And here is the profound secret few understand: what you think, you become. Your mind is not just a vessel, it is a creator. Every thought is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious. Nurture those seeds with faith, clarity, and discipline, and they grow into mighty oaks of success. Neglect them, feed them fear or doubt, and they wither into weeds of failure. The question then is simple but daunting: will you own your mind? Or will you let the world own you? Because make no mistake, the world is waiting, watching, and ready to seize control if you hesitate. It offers endless distractions, judgments, and pressures designed to fracture your focus and dilute your power. The noise is deafening. But owning your mind means tuning out the chaos and tuning into the unshakable voice within. Visualization is a weapon in this battle. See yourself as a master of your mind, calm, composed, relentless. See yourself walking through storms without flinching, turning setbacks into stepping stones, criticism into fuel for growth. When you visualize this image daily, it becomes your reality. The mind does not distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is actually lived. Gratitude is the secret fuel of this mental mastery. When you cultivate gratitude even in hardship, you rewire your brain to focus on abundance, not lack. Gratitude grounds you in the present and empowers your vision for the future. It's the anchor that keeps your mind steady amid the chaos. And finally, resilience, the capacity to adapt, to learn, to grow through adversity, is the crown jewel of mind ownership. Life will knock you down repeatedly. Owning your mind means rising each time stronger, wiser, more determined. Like a blacksmith forging steel in fire, every trial tempers your spirit, makes your resolve unbreakable. Remember Henry Ford again. He didn't build the greatest automobile empire by luck or ease. He built it by refusing to let failure define him, by mastering his mind to see opportunity where others saw defeat. This is the essence of the timeless wisdom of Napoleon Hill, reborn for the modern warrior: own your mind or be owned by the world. There is no middle ground. The battle for your mind is the battle for your life. Choose to be the master of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose belief over doubt. Choose discipline over distraction. Choose resilience over defeat. This is your path to true freedom, to unstoppable power, to a life lived on your terms. Will you own your mind? Or will you surrender it to the noise, the fear, and the chaos? The choice is yours. But remember, those who own their minds don't just survive. They thrive. They lead. They inspire. They conquer. And the world respects nothing more than a mind owned, a spirit unbroken, and a purpose unwavering. Own your mind. Own your life. Own your destiny. When you take ownership of your mind, you step into a realm few ever truly inhabit. It's a realm where clarity dissolves confusion, where purpose burns brighter than fear, and where the impossible bends beneath the weight of your unwavering will. This realm is not reserved for the lucky or the gifted. It is reserved for those willing to wrestle with their own doubts, to stare into the abyss of uncertainty, and refuse to blink. Think of Henry David Thoreau, who retreated to the woods, not to escape the world, but to own his mind in solitude and clarity. He knew the noise of society could drown out the voice of his true self, so he carved out a space for mental sovereignty. To own your mind means sometimes walking alone, forging paths others dare not tread, because the cost of distraction is the death of greatness. You must learn to guard your mind as a warrior guards his sword, sharpen it daily with new knowledge, temper it with experience, and shield it against poisoned thoughts. Toxic doubt, relentless negativity, and societal pressure are the enemy soldiers in the war for your mental kingdom. To win, you must master the art of selective attention, choosing what thoughts you feed, what words you listen to, what battles you engage in. Imagine a garden. Your mind is the soil, your thoughts are the seeds. If you sow weeds of comparison, jealousy, and fear, you'll harvest a tangled wilderness of despair. But if you plant seeds of courage, gratitude, and relentless faith, you will reap a lush forest of opportunity and growth. The choice of what to cultivate is yours and yours alone. The power to choose your thoughts is the greatest freedom you possess. But choice alone is not enough, it requires action. The bridge from thought to reality is built with deliberate steps taken every day. Walt Disney didn't just imagine a magical kingdom, he sketched it, planned it, built it brick by brick in the face of failure and ridicule. Your mind must become a factory of ideas and your hands the builders of dreams. Discipline is the fuel in this factory. Without discipline, your mind is like a rudderless ship, drifting aimlessly through the sea of life. Discipline means showing up every day even when motivation fades, even when fatigue weighs heavy. It means doing the work no one else sees, pushing through resistance, and honoring the promise you made to yourself. But owning your mind isn't about rigid control, it's about adaptability, the ability to bend without breaking. Thomas Edison, despite his obsession, constantly adapted his methods, learned from mistakes, and refused to be chained to one path. The mind that owns itself is fluid, able to pivot when necessary, but unyielding in its purpose. Every failure, every obstacle, every harsh word is a lesson cloaked in disguise. The mind that owns itself seeks these lessons eagerly. It turns pain into wisdom, loss into strategy, and criticism into fuel. Learning is not a task but a lifestyle, a relentless pursuit of growth that turns every challenge into a stepping stone toward mastery. Gratitude keeps this process grounded. It reminds you that every breath, every moment of clarity, is a gift. When you cultivate gratitude, you flip the mental switch from scarcity to abundance. This shift rewires your brain to notice opportunity instead of obstacles, allies instead of enemies, and blessings instead of burdens. Resilience, then, is the culmination of owning your mind. It's the iron backbone forged in the fires of experience, the ability to rise again and again when life tries to knock you down. Lincoln knew this intimately. His path to leadership was paved with setbacks and heartbreak, yet his resilience kept the flame of his vision burning bright. Owning your mind means owning your story, every scar, every victory, every lesson. It means refusing to let your past dictate your future. You are not your failures, not your fears, not your doubts. You are the consciousness behind them, the eternal flame that no storm can extinguish. So stand now. Stand tall in your mental sovereignty. Declare that you will no longer be a passenger in your own life but the captain of your fate. The world may roar, but your mind will be the calm in the storm, the lighthouse that guides you through the darkest night. And know this, owning your mind is the greatest gift you can give yourself, but it is also the greatest gift you can give the world. Because when your mind is free, your spirit soars, and your impact becomes unstoppable. Own your mind. Own your life. Own your destiny. The world is waiting for the power only you can unleash.